It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
It's not a lie, if you believe it.
Laugh.
We had a little fun, because it's a very long day, you know.
And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is The Focus Group with Tim Bennett.
All right, let's go already.
And John Nash.
Pucker up, Buttercup.
With a focus on career, the consumer culture, and marketing from an LGBT point of view. We're all business, except when we're not.
Hey, welcome to the Focus Group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, John Nash. We're all business, except when we're not. Thanks for tuning in if you're watching us live here on Facebook, or if you're on our YouTube channel, which is also Focus Group Radio. John, are you arranging our gourd display?
I wanted one more gourd to be in your...
We bought these. I got these at Trader Joe's for our special last week when Keith Price was on, and so we've kept them in the refrigerator.
It's our harvest display.
Our harvest display. The boys in the booth, John and Garrett, had decided we were going to put those in the refrigerator so we'd have them for October.
Oh, that was
why they're
very
wet and cold.
That was very thoughtful of them.
So be sure to follow along with us during the week at all of our social media, which is branded Focus Group Radio. And of course, on Saturdays, we repost this live show for all you time shifters, and also an audio version, which goes on SoundCloud and iHeart and Apple Podcasts. I always want to say iTunes.
They changed it. Now they call it Apple Podcasts.
Apple Podcasts. So follow along with us there. How, aside from the obvious, which is this horrific event in Las Vegas, how was your week?
Week has been great so far. It was a wonderful weekend, wonderful fun birthday.
Did you do anything exciting for your birthday?
Well, besides digging into the chocolate bag.
How much of that's left?
Okay, so
you gave John the gift of chocolate. Did you see how much money that stuff cost? I was shocked when I went through the.
It wasn't as bad. It wasn't really as bad as you thought. The most expensive.
Over 50.
Yeah, the most expensive item is that enormous chocolate bar.
How much?
That was like 12 or 14. That was okay. So, Bob took and kept the creme de mints. They're off. They're off limits. So those are in the refrigerator, and those are the dark chocolate with.
Like an after dinner mint.
Then you got me one of my favorite things. It was a bag. It's orange filled.
I love orange and chocolate.
It's like a little jelly of a little orange filling. And our other one, it was dark chocolate with almonds, which is fantastic. Then you got me a box of these. It's called dark chocolate thins. And each little bar is only 100 calories.
I saw that perfect.
Folks, it's a breakfast treat. That's because I have one for breakfast before my eggs. I know it's terrible, but we didn't know what to do with. I wasn't sure what to do with that enormous chocolate bar because
Well, it's tough because once you open it, you have to put it in big plastic.
So Bob said to me, "What if I bring this to the office?"
Ooh.
And he brought it to his office, and his coworker Keith took it.
The whole thing?
And then 2 days later came in, he had found a Trader Joe's dark chocolate brownie cookie recipe that required the whole bar to go in.
You're kidding me.
Bob said the cookies were amazing.
Did Bob bring one home?
No, he ate them at the office and didn't even offer
Bobby.
to give us a cookie.
It's horrible.
And there might have been one other item that he took in because I said it was too dangerous to keep. It would have been grazing, like you would have walked by all the time and eat it. But all the stuff is holding steady. And, of course, there's the another thing you gave me was a little miniature speculous dark chocolate.
I saw that in the checkout line. When I was in high school, I don't know if you remember this, but you and I used to go to this ice cream shop in Woodbury off Route 67. And I used to always get I tried to replicate what I would get in Canada as a little kid, but I could never do it in the States because, as you know, we don't have orange ice cream.
That's right.
But I would do orange sherbet
Got
ice
it.
cream with chocolate, hot fudge, sauce. And everybody would always make fun of me.
Great flavor.
It's delicious.
That's like the little candy you gave me with the orange filling.
We do orange sherbet with the hot chocolate fudge, a little bit of whipped cream, a little bit of nuts.
So I had a
like
great
one now.
birthday. To me, it was a whole birthday weekend. I got some great bike riding in. I had a good massage on Friday, a deep tissue massage. It was just a really good
How long is the massage?
hour and a half.
Do you tip?
Yes, and the logic there is
What are
that
you
if
supposed to tip? How much is it, $100? Give them 20?
like a 20's kind of a standard because the massage therapist, if they're working out of a spa or a facility, they don't keep whatever you're charged, they don't get. They get a portion of that.
Right.
If they came to your home and did it, they would get 100%. So I always try to figure out what that is.
I never know what to do in that case. So if they came to your house, would you still tip them?
No. In fact, for years I had
They would take it.
They would, but I actually had a massage therapist for many years who worked out of his home in the village. He actually taught at the Swedish Institute. He helped develop their massage program. And I actually just asked him one day, I said, what's the pro forma? What's the courtesy here? And he said, I'll be honest. He goes, it's my home. There's the overhead is the home. He goes, I'm not working at a spa. So he goes, you don't have to tip me. Whatever the rate is.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
But that's what I don't like about Uber now. Uber now is allowed tipping, and there is an expectation of tipping. And Richard and I had some mattresses delivered to
Did you tip the guys?
the house. We both were debating over it. Like, do we tip them or not? They did a good job. They did a great job. We gave them some bottled water and I think $20, which I thought was very generous. But I don't know. In that situation again,
I tell you, this is a funny little story to kick the show off. A funny topic, because when I moved into our building years and years ago up on the Upper West Side, we have doormen. And I remember Christmas came around, and I said to our head doorman, a cool guy named Jarvis, I said, Jarvis, what is the
protocol?
What's the protocol? And he said, it's whatever you want. I said, no. I said, there is a number. There's a number floating around.
I made you cookies.
Okay, so then he says, sometimes people give us cookies, or they'll make their own treats, and they'll give them to the staff. And I said, I want to cut through all this. What is... And then he actually gave me, he said, porters can maybe expect this, doormen this. He gave me a breakdown. I've stuck with it ever since, and it's been fine. And we laugh about it to this day, because he goes, very few people ask directly. He said it would solve a lot of problems if you just said...
So is there an expectation? So
there is an expectation.
This is odd. I always thought this was odd about New York, but I've not lived in a building with a staff. But so when holiday time comes, or Christmas time, I guess. Mm-hmm. So how much money do you have to put aside for tipping? Is it $1,000? Is it $500?
For us, we set aside about $1,100.
You're kidding me.
And that includes that goes the gamut from someone who cleans your apartment every 2 weeks or something, all the way up to your door staff. We have a particularly large building, and that's a problem. I mean, if you had only 3 people, you'd be looking at a very small amount of money. And then the garage where the car is kept. Now, you would think that with what you're paying, you wouldn't do that, but the car arrives. We'll walk in, they'll see us, the manager knows who we are, the car comes right up. There could be a line of 10 people that have been waiting for half an hour, but our car comes right up.
So you don't, so when you get a car out, so when you have a monthly or a yearly deal in New York, you're not giving, every time you get the car, you're not giving them $5 or $2 or something?
I do it like $2 when they bring the car.
Then you also tip at the end of the...
At Christmas time, yeah.
I'm not moving to New York.
Well, you don't have to do any of that, but I will tell you that I've talked to the managers, and I've had honest, frank conversations, and they're funny, and they'll say, well, you guys are good guys. You're good clients. You take care of your car. You take good care of your car, and we take good care of it for you. So, yeah.
That's why tip is to ensure prompt service.
Is that what it? To ensure prompt service.
Right? Yeah. Isn't that what it is?
Yes, exactly.
So on the show today, it's just John and I, which we love. I've said that before. I'm not a guest fan. John is.
I see Garrett laughing away.
I like just you and I chatting. But so John and I are going to do the random sample, which is our take on some LGBT news or LGBT toned news, I suppose, around the globe or around the U.S. And then we have John found a shop talk. Was it in the New York Times?
The Times runs a column called the. I'm spacing on it, but it's like a Dear Abby for work, basically. Yeah.
And so what's the it's how to avoid a pesky...
There are two things that they answered: how to discourage a well-intentioned but pesky coworker, and how to broach a sensitive subject with a coworker. And on that second one, you said you had...
I have a million things.
Some great stories.
Telling people what to wear and all the other things.
That's, how to stand, what to do,
Yeah. So what I wanted to, I don't really want to touch on it, but I guess we should touch on it. So the president went to...
He flew out of
Puerto Rico.
He left this morning.
We went to Puerto Rico yesterday.
And today he's on his way to Vegas.
Which was by all accounts, an utter disaster.
I don't know how you could fly over that island and land and do some kind of weird pep talk at a card table, but
and throw out paper towels
and throw out paper towels.
T-shirts at the Irish pub.
You might as well throw out, wet wipes or something like, here's a shower. Thank you, federal government. It's unusual, but as Bob Schieffer said on Morning Joe this morning, there's nothing usual about any of this. In his entire career, and the guy's 80-something, he's never seen anything like this. So if I take an 81-year-old man at his word, we're in weird times.
The scary thing for me about, and I'm sure for
You're
a
talking
lot
about
of
Las Vegas.
for a lot of people with Las Vegas. So for a number of years, John and I, when we were on Sirius XM on OutQ, we did the Temptation Sundays pool party at Luxor. And whenever they keep showing the grid or the schematic, it was right across the street from where this horrible shooting took place, and right next door to Mandalay Bay, which you and I have been to the spa. You and I have been to that hotel for dinner. We've
Last time we were there, we saw the Michael Jackson, the Cirque du Soleil Michael Jackson
which
show.
is a great show, and so it's weird.
Tropicana.
Weird's the wrong word.
Excalibur, Luxor. We know the corner very well. We know that. We know that spot.
And I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine the horrible unfolding of events. And I didn't think you could bust out those windows.
Now that's a whole
I mean, those windows are you've
Oh yeah,
pushed on them.
yeah.
I mean,
It's not like they swing open.
it's not like your house window.
No, because those buildings are sealed for environmental purposes to keep the air conditioning at a reasonable level. Besides the unspeakable tragedy of losing a loved one at a concert,
Yeah.
a country music thing. I mean, you can't even imagine a more innocent venue. There's the mystery of why he did it at all, which is, it seems to be a real mystery. I mean, the more they dig, they're like,
Well, he wired $100,000 to the girlfriend in the Philippines,
yeah.
and then now they're saying the brother's a little unhinged. But that still doesn't mean
That doesn't answer the
that doesn't
fundamental.
answer the question as to the why.
But you know, the thing about the unsettling thing is, I love visiting Las Vegas. They've been a sponsor and partner of ours for many years, and I used to go before they even partnered with us. To me, I don't even think about security issues when I'm there. It seems like the Strip is this wonderful thing. You could walk up and down. Let's go see the fountains at the Bellagio. Let's take our picture in front of the Arc de Triomphe at Paris. You know what I mean? It's like, and I don't think I have to start looking up and worrying about a shooter in a window. It never. Now it's going to cross your mind. And you said the other day that based on this, they're looking at Times Square as a potential.
Well, there's lots of fear now of what they call soft targets, which are these sort of venues that have lots of people in a
concentrated
area where you can't really escape. I mean, particularly, in New York at Times Square, they've got lots of barricades up just to keep the people, so they're not wandering off all the side streets or going in buildings or whatever. But it's got to be a logistical nightmare. And for a city like New York City, and I'm sure London and Paris, Madrid, all these other world cities, it's got to be difficult. But I do remember when we used to do the show on Saturday mornings, and I would walk through Times Square.
You thought about it.
Well, I would think about it a lot, but I would also see the amount of cameras that if you don't pay attention, you just have to look up 3 feet, 30 feet. Times Square is so mapped that I am sure you couldn't blow your nose without them knowing that. What
was the recent incident in London with the tube station? And within 3 hours, they had gone through CCTV footage and they had literally figured out. So London's even more wired than we are. I mean, a lot of European cities and capitals are very much like that. But that's not going to prevent something from happening, but when something, maybe it does. Maybe it is a deterrent, but when it does, at least they have the footage to go back on. So
my first trip to London in the early 90s, I couldn't figure it out, and then somebody had explained it to me. So we'd go get a cup of coffee, or you'd get a bottle of water or soda or something, and we'd be walking around the streets. It was my friend Scott, and we could never find a place to throw anything away. Could never throw a bottle away, or there was no recycling bin, or there was no nothing.
A bin that you could put something in
to
as
bomb.
An explosive device.
Like,
wow,
they
I
said,
didn't think about that.
And I remember one of the Brits with us says, because we had asked at a store, we're at a pub, we'd stopped in. They said, "Oh, you Americans are so naive. They said, just bring it in, we'll throw it away for you." They said, "But we don't have receptacles like that because of the fear that somebody may place a bomb or something."
And that fear went back not to terrorism. Well, it did, but to a different kind, because that goes back all the way to the IRA, right?
IRA, yeah.
So that was headlines we heard when we were, in our teens. The IRA,
Catholic Protestant divide in Northern Ireland, and
I guess the more things change, the more they stay the same, right?
Unfortunately,
a different name, a different organization under new management. We're called ISIS now.
Still religion.
Used to be the IRA. Now
still
we're
religion,
ISIS.
right?
It's still, yeah.
So what caught your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
All right, it's one step removed from a cat on a Roomba. But those Roomba vacuum things. But I thought I came across this from the Miami Herald. It made me smile. It caught my eye, and it was like one of those nice little moments. And I thought, okay, this has caught my eye. So a man named Tim Newton, who is a photographer and lives up in Alaska, and he says basically he's in Anchorage and he's at the edge of the wilderness. Like beyond his front porch is wilderness.
I would like to sidebar. Wouldn't you like to go to Alaska? Have you
Yes,
been?
I would love to go. And I think one of the best ways to do it might be a cruise because they get you into a couple areas, you get off. I think you either go to Anchorage or what's the other city I'm thinking of? There's two big ones.
Yeah.
And then you can go and do the Iditarod, which is also that big national park, right? I
Well,
would love to
Derek
go.
and Romaine, by the way, John and I are going to be co-hosting tonight on Derek and Romaine. We forgot to mention that. If you go to derekandromaine.com, there's a way to listen to us. We're on at 5
To 7,
p.m.
5 to
Eastern.
7, Eastern Standard
But
Time.
they did a cruise to Alaska, I think.
Do they like
That's
it?
where Romaine got married, on
That's
that cruise.
possible, yeah, because those boats are a little smaller. I think Virgin Atlantic or Virgin does them, and
We should look into that while we can still walk.
all right, so the headline is They Just Kept Coming. Link's family turns Alaska photographer's deck into a playground.
Oh, my gosh.
So a strange noise from the deck of Tim Newton woke him early one morning a couple of weeks ago. We live on the edge of basically wilderness, and Newton, who lives on the outskirts of Anchorage, so we get wildlife coming through all the time. At first he thought it might be bears. But then he went to the window and he thought it was cats, but then he looked closer and these are lynx. These are lynx, and lynx,
The big feet.
they have the big feet, right? And they have a very distinctive ear shape, and also, they're predators, so they look like they can move. So 2 feet away from him in the window was these 3 kitties playing, these lynx kittens. They played for a while, then they left the porch, and then he went out. He started to open the door, and then he heard and he saw the mother, and the mother made some noise, and then a whole bunch of them came up to the to the deck and started playing.
Oh, my gosh, look at how cute they are.
And he said that they were very curious, and one of them, John's moving over there now, one of them would hear the sound of the camera going chick, 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 and walked right up to the screen door with total curiosity to see what was going on. He said they just kept coming. He kept shooting. They played for 40 minutes. He got 200 photos available on ForFineArtAmerica.com. But I loved it because I thought, he didn't interfere. He let them. He said, and when they were done, the mother made this little sound, and they all bolted off. And he goes, never saw him again. But what an adorable thing!
If you're watching on the YouTube or Facebooks, there's some great photos of the cats. I wonder, are they like birds?
What does that mean?
So when they get older, does Mama kick them all out and they've got to go live on their own and create their own families, or do they stay together?
No, they do. They do separate.
Separate? I think that's sad.
Once the kittens
Time to leave the nest.
Well, they're predators, so they're gonna go out and establish their own territory, and they're gonna have their little zones. It's not like they get together for a brother-sister reunion.
Hey, got
But lynx are actually endangered.
Come on over.
I read that they're a threatened species in the contiguous 48 states of the U.S. So up in Canada and Alaska, they're not necessarily considered an endangered species, but down in the proper 48, they are. But they're rare to see like that in nature. They know to stay away from man. So
I don't know if your mom is experiencing this in Middlebury, but my parents in Southbury are.
animals,
The bears are coming from everywhere. I think it's because they're building too many houses.
their natural habitat's been encroached on, and deer in upstate we see deer and bear, and there's something called coy dogs. They're a cross between a coyote and a dog. At like 1 a.m, you'll hear this.
A coy dog?
I might not be pronouncing it right, but it's a.
Really, I've not heard of this.
like
So it's
predators.
a hybrid?
Yeah, and at night when you're upstate, at like midnight, 1 a.m, you'll hear howling, and it sounds like children crying.
I thought that was Bob when I was up there.
There's one right there. Is that one of those
A
guys?
coy dog?
It's a coy dog. Yeah.
Cute?
Well,
That's adorable.
they're a cross between a coyote and a dog, and they are predators, and they're vicious. And so if
You have those in your yard?
no, we may though. I'll tell you why. Because suddenly the groundhog population diminished to almost zero around the whole
Remember when I brought my dogs up and they were trying to get
They knew
one home?
exactly. So when you lose like
they're
chipmunks
adorable.
and squirrels and groundhogs or possums,
like
these
a
guys
koi
are doing it.
Aren't they cute?
You want one for? I'll get a lynx.
adorable?
You get a koi
A
dog.
lynx and a koi dog. We'll domesticate them. Well, mine couldn't be any more different. And I bumped into this only because for a while you and I have been talking about, we joke, not funny, but the demise of retail and how retail, the whole face of retail is changing.
Transformed.
By online buying and the kind of the overpopulation of brick and mortar stores. So this popped up on my feed, and it was from CNBC. And the headline was, the retail giant Nordstrom plans on opening a new concept store in West Hollywood, California, that differs from all its other stores in at least one fundamental way. It will not stock any clothes.
Now, you're a Nordstrom fan.
Yeah, I like Nordstrom. So there's one up in the King of Prussia Mall outside where I live. So it's going to be called Nordstrom Local, and it's going to focus on the human elements of the shopping experience. Customers will receive free consultations with personal stylists. They're going to recommend merchandise which will be brought into the store. An in-house tailor can also alter the clothes to your specifications. And then even though nobody asked for it, they're going to offer 8 different manicure services to help complete your perfect look. They're going to provide food, wine, and espresso.
Even though nobody asked for it.
Even though nobody asked for it. Unlike the traditional stores, the location won't have any dedicated inventory. The stylist, again, will transfer merchandise for you. It could also be hand-delivered to your car for curbside pickup if you just wanted to stop by, which I thought to myself, just order online. They said that what they're finding, and this really, I think, leads to you, is that they're finding from their research, that's if you're watching online, that's what the interior will look like. That if you go online to look to buy something, you're overwhelmed by the amount of merchandise.
Choice by
Right.
choice.
So there's so many things that they say that particularly men, if you said, I need to go get a dress shirt or I need to go get a white Oxford, you just want a white Oxford. You want to walk into the store and somebody says, here, I've got 2 white Oxfords. You want button-down collar or not, or spread, what type of collar, you're out. You go online, you could look through 15 pages
and
of
the
white.
reviews and the this.
So
Yeah.
they said this is really just a different level of service that they want to provide for the customer, because they said that even though stores are going away, that and shopping might not be the same as it once was, they said that it's still going to be important to have good service. People are still going to want good service.
I agree. And so it sounds like a curated shopping experience.
Yeah, they said retail isn't going, so this one quote was, retail isn't going away. We just need to adapt very quickly to the changing landscape, and also the changing landscape that's been altered by and fast fashion. And they said everybody thought there was a death of the airline business when Southwest showed up, but that certainly didn't happen. Airlines are still doing well. So they said this is a neighborhood hub. The footprint of the store is only 3,000 square feet, which a typical store is 140,000 square feet.
Wow.
This store is located at 8401 Melrose Place, Los Angeles. They decided to pick West Hollywood,
As a
which is
test
obviously
market.
a pretty popular gay enclave or LGBT enclave. And they're expecting good things to happen from it. So we'll see. I don't know. Would you go to a place like that?
I was just going to reference, well, yes and no. Okay, so you know the shirt maker Charles Truitt,
Yes.
British company.
There's
So,
a sale going on by now, by the way, right now.
and I, by the way, once a year, I go to Charles Truitt. They have 4 shirts for $100 or 120. I know my measurements and the cut that always fits me. I don't have to try a thing on. I could order from the catalog just as easily as going to the store. And that's the model that I like. But didn't we get a letter recently from one of our listeners who is buying either an Atlas or a VW Atlas or Tiguan, who went to a Tesla showroom and was very disappointed that he couldn't really deal with seeing the car, didn't really know what he was going to order. So I think that the model is clever when the product is a known product. Like, I don't see this working for cars.
Well, it was interesting. So, and part of the other issue, so say you did go to Nordstrom.com and you lived in West Hollywood or near there, you could go and say, as long as you place your order before 2 p.m., you could pick it up there at the store.
Okay.
Which I think is another convenience. But you're right about the car thing. I also, a lot of these, I think there's a couple of dealerships, high-end luxury, that are saying they're going to do these virtual showrooms. And I remember back in the 90s, Subaru explored that a little bit. And the issue becomes when you're spending 25, 30, 45, 50s, whatever.
60,000, yeah,
For a
depending on the
car.
car.
You want to look, touch, feel, sit. Don't show me a picture.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with auto shows. People always thought, oh, with the advent of all this tech and online, we don't need to do auto
heavily
shows.
attended.
Auto shows are more packed than ever because people want to physically touch and see
The
that
car.
sort of product. The other retailer, which I think has made a mistake, although their stock seems to be doing well, is Restoration Hardware, now it's called RH. They've moved away from these mall stores where you can go in and check out the stuff to... You remember they used to have great stuff around holidays, whatever. They've all just become
gone.
nice showrooms with a very curated amount of furniture just related to the neighborhood they're in. So in Greenwich, Connecticut, for instance, they took over the old post office. They've got a very set tone of what Greenwich
How are they
furniture
doing?
is. They seem to be doing okay, but I think they're doing okay because they've opened up now a ton of these outlet centers. And that's where you can actually go see the furniture. So I had gone into Restoration probably in the last month twice to go look at something I'd seen online, and you can't see it. So what's happening, I'm sure, is people are ordering and then they're returning, and it goes to the outlet centers, and the outlet centers are doing well because that's not what I ordered. That's not the color I thought it was.
Furniture is the other
That's not-
thing. I'm
have
a
to sit
firm
in it.
believer at shoes, cars, furniture, and pants. And to some degree, shirts. But pants, we already went over this with bonobos and all that crap where you keep sending them back, sending them back, sending them back.
You'll like this story. I had a woman who worked for me in auto shows. She decided she was going to save all this money. So we used to we had 40, 50 product specialists. And we would dress them through Nicole Miller and Saks Fifth Avenue and a bunch of different places. But we'd fly them all in for training, and then we'd go get them fitted. So they'd spend a day getting the wardrobe done because you needed to have these clothes for the whole year. She decided she was going to save money and just order it all online, and when they arrived, they were just going to put it on. Not one pair of shoes fit any of the women. I said to her, I said, don't do it.
Shoes.
It's so much easier.
You got to put a pair
She
of
ordered
shoes
all
on.
this stuff, and it was such a disaster, and she was
So,
so frustrated.
On the shoe front, my granddad once told me that he said if a shoe salesman ever tells you you're going to break the shoe in, don't buy the shoe.
Really?
A shoe should fit the minute you put it on, and this notion of breaking a shoe in. Now, there are a few exceptions to this. If it's a very thick leather, the upper may soften up as you flex your foot, but the basic footprint should work. You should be comfortable in your shoe. But so if
Now, where did he get that logic from? Did he sell shoes?
no, but my granddad swore by it. He did a lot of walking. He used to be he worked for Prudential Life Insurance, and he would go door to door and collect people's monthly. It was a quarter, 50 cents, whatever it was. So he had to have good shoes. And he said if your big toe hurts or if you're sticking to the side of the shoe, it's going to be a pain in the butt. So
That's smart.
And hence no shopping for shoes online.
Wow. Hey, we have a call in New York. Billy in New York. Thanks for calling. What's going on?
I have to check on our birthday boy here, see how he's recovering from his chocolate addiction.
Yeah, I know, Billy. It was practically overload, and I do have to ratchet back now. So how you doing? And what is this comment you have about buying a plane?
Well, this weekend, and this is in your wheelhouse in Groton, Connecticut, the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association has their Groton fly-in. So people in the general public can come, touch, feel, see airplanes, see real airplanes, talk to people about airplanes, and talk about this air traffic privatization issue, which is very scary for general aviation.
Is that all the kind of the NetJet sort of thing, Billy?
No, what the airlines have coerced Mr. Trump into saying that they want the rule of the sky and get rid of the FAA and privatize like they did in Europe or in Canada, so that, say, guys like you and I want to go fly our Cirrus or our Cessna, we would have to pay to use the airspace. Ooh.
I tell you,
Yeah, this is a quiet thing. I don't think this has been reported, has
this
it?
needs to,
Or we didn't hear about it. I didn't hear
It's a
about it.
bill called H.R. 2997. It's been buried in Congress, and it is scary. I mean, the Gay Pilot Association is somewhat against it because most of them are airline pilots, but general aviation pilots are scared because in Canada, I know a guy who flew for a week in Canada, wound up paying $600 just to talk to people on the radio to make a landing at an airport.
So Canada has so it's private in Canada right now?
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, if you want to
Wow.
use the radio and talk to a controller, you're billed.
That sounds like a logistical nightmare.
Oh, can you imagine a private entity trying to run
Yeah.
an American? I mean, we have the best. It really is the best system in the world. The airlines are trying to say it's not, but we got technology now that you can know where a plane is within 3 feet.
Wow.
This is so. Here we go again, Billy. I mean, what a great example of you believe and you know from your experience that we have one of the best systems. It works. It functions. Why privatize? What's the big savings for us? I mean,
Answering the question nobody asked.
yeah.
Well,
if
it's on the AOPA's site. They have some great videos. Matter of fact, Sully Sullenberger is a big proponent against it.
against it, okay.
Yeah, he says, why would you want somebody that makes your airplane seat smaller and privatize the airspace?
Wow.
So, Billy, is your fly-in to Groton a lot like when you guys did a fly-in near the Klein-Kill Airport where I ride my bike sometimes upstate? It's like a grass landing strip?
No, this will be at the Groton New London Airport. It's a really, they only do these about 4 a year by the AOPA, and they're different areas. Next year they're spread out across the country. In Carbondale, Illinois, there's a big one.
Can the Groton Airport accommodate planes up to a certain size? Or like?
Oh, yeah. They've already got the parking set up where everybody can go. They're going to have great food and vendors, and it really connects to people who are not in aviation, and the fall colors and the seafood out there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds very cool. Groton's pretty cool, actually. Since we're Connecticut boys.
Yeah, yeah. So Route 84, by the way, is still bad in Waterbury.
Route 84 has been bad since it was fixed.
Yeah,
Since it was developed. Yeah.
I thought the car was coming off my trailer coming back.
Yeah, it's bad. Believe me.
It's yeah.
You could stop at Holy Land and get a blessing in Waterbury.
I see the cross on the hill. I was going to take a picture for you guys.
Yeah, we went there when we were kids. There was a rosary beads made out of cannonballs. Then there's like a recreation of the crypt where Jesus was buried in. I have stories about that.
You don't know the claim to fame to Waterbury, though, Billy. It was number 4 on Hitler's list in the U.S. because it was the brass city. Made the bullets. Yeah. That was its claim to
I
fame.
thought it was on the top 10 gay cities to go to in Connecticut.
Well, they said that too,
yeah,
but
supposedly.
if you could name 10 cities in Connecticut, you'd be doing something. Thanks for calling,
Hey, thank
Billy.
you, Billy. Thank you.
All right, later. Bye.
Take care.
We have our business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
This is another one of those that there's an overwhelming amount of information about him. But Russell Wendell Simmons.
J.
He was born October 4th, 1957. He's 60 today, an American entrepreneur, producer, and author. The chairman and CEO of Rush Communications. He co-founded the hip-hop music label Def Jam Records, also created the fashion line Fat Farm, Argyle Culture, and Tantris.
How old is he now?
He's 60 today.
60. Wow.
Net worth
Good.
is in excess of $350 million. He, you probably know some of his acts: the Beastie Boys, Public Enemy, LL Cool J.
Yeah.
He pioneered what they call the rap rock crossover, when he put out Run DMC's Walk This Way. And they said it was the first time that they were able to blend the worlds of hip hop and fashion. And he helped to create a global audience for rap music. He said, "My life has been largely about promoting the anger, style, aggression, and attitude of urban America to a worldwide audience." He said it's one of the most difficult things he's done, but probably the most effective thing he's done in his life. He's had an interesting past. He did open, as I said, the clothing line Fat Farm, and has a number of other businesses. What I found most interesting about his bio, though, is when he was a child, he said, "I used every drug there was imaginable."
When he was a child. There's been a couple added to the...
So he said when he was growing up, he used every drug imaginable, but that didn't make him a bad person. His parents were very upset with him. He said he sold drugs, he ran with a gang. His father was very concerned, so forced him to get a job at the Orange Julius in Greenwich Village. Now, do you remember the Orange Julius with the ridiculous hats? We've got a picture of in the next slide, the picture of remember those ridiculous hats poor kids had to wear? Well, so Orange Julius in the 80s was sold to Dairy Queen. Oh. And now Dairy Queen. So now it's owned actually by Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett.
Okay.
But I used to always in the mall as a kid think That's the last place you'd want to work because you have to put those stupid ass outfits on.
You didn't want that job as a kid.
Imagine those hats.
I didn't want food vendor. I was Marshall's. You were Walden Books.
I just didn't want to dress up like that. Anyway, he got fired. And so his father made him work at the Orange Julius here in Greenwich Village in an attempt to steer him away from trouble, but he got fired after only a month on the job for throwing oranges at people.
Oh my God.
He's been a vegan since 1999. He was a friend with Donald Trump, President Trump, for 3 decades. However, the friendship has soured because Simmons began to publicly criticize Trump during the election campaign in 2016. And but he still thinks his point was, I've been outspoken talking to the president about the way he's been treating women and people of color particularly. I know him well. I know he's better than how he's acting. Was
You know what?
how he said.
Hit the pause button there for a minute. How many people have said that?
A lot.
So
Everybody says that. He's a
but-
New Yorker. They said he probably knows all
I
kinds
am
of diversity.
sure
and-
that your grandmother and my I'm sure that you've heard this, actions speak louder than words. And I don't know intent until you act. But his actions are painting a very different picture than someone saying, I know him, he's way better than this. Well, no, not the picture we see, right?
Well, what is it that Maya Angelou said that Oprah Winfrey would then?
Oh.
Is somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Believe him, yeah.
First time. Somebody shows you who they are, believe them the first time. So he's a vegan. He advocates ahishma and veganism, which cites animal rights along with environmental and health benefits. He's a supporter of the Farm Sanctuary, which is an organization to end cruelty to animals. PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, gave him an award, humanitarian award. He was part of the Occupy Wall Street protests. He also was a big supporter of gay rights and encouraged marriage equality. And he started his own, he says he's a Christian yogi and has started his own
Transcendental.
yes, meditation. And has a line, the Tantras line of clothing for that. So it's funny, I think, a lot of times when these wealthy people go off on these veganism and
The little
yoga
side
and
things,
meditation.
yeah.
You can do that when you got a lot of money.
Sure you can. Yeah, when you could spend all day juicing your meals. Yeah, we don't all have that luxury, right?
So hey, as most of you know, Deep Discount is a partner of ours here on the Focus Group. Be sure to head over to focusgroupradio.com and click on the Deep Discount logo. There's always so much stuff to find there. I find myself every week when we have to pick our selections for the show getting lost. And
I'm laughing because we research our movies.
yeah.
And I end up going into different sections, and you turn me on to concert T-shirts.
Well, I was trying to find, and they don't have it. We'll have to talk to Lauren, but I wanted a B-52's concert T-shirt, but that's hard to find anywhere. You really can't find those on any site. But I was looking for a B-52's concert
No
T-shirt.
shirt at all, like no whammy, no.
I didn't see one, but again, there's hundreds and hundreds of things to look through, and there were some Rolling Stones things that were pretty cool. But again, if you go to focusgroupradio.com and click on the Deep Discount logo, we like to have you do that because we get credit for it, of course. This week, there's a Blu-ray under $15 sale. And John had picked out a couple of movies, and then I had picked out one, which I guess surprised John, but we'll let John go first.
By the way, to all our fans and listeners, Tim always surprises me. I've known Tim
you
since
don't
we
think
were
I watch
sophomores in
movies?
high school, and you surprise me in a really cool way. I have no bad things.
What two did you find?
First and foremost, Blu-ray under $15, great deal. If you don't have a Blu-ray player, they're very inexpensive now. And I have to tell you, I've said this repeatedly, Blu-ray looks significantly better
You've always said that.
than DVD, and it's almost cinematic in my opinion, especially when I put Star Wars in. I could go 20 minutes in before R2-D2's abducted by Jawas, and I'm like, oh, I'm watching a DVD or a Blu-ray. You knew I was going to say Star Wars, right? So
Is there a new Star Wars coming out?
Yes, December, The Last Jedi. It's
Have your tickets?
No, but I'm going to see it with Adrian. So I went through the sale page for the Blu-ray under 15, which John just had up there, and by the way, on the page, that's that funny movie with the two guys. They're the skaters.
Yeah.
That riff on figure skating. I love that movie. Blades of Glory, I think it was called. So I picked two movies. They're sci-fi, but I highly recommend them.
Is
The
there
first
anything
one
else?
is AI, Artificial Intelligence. It came out in 2001, starring Haley Joel Osment and Jude Law. It's Steven Spielberg. It's an interesting movie. It's about technology, artificial intelligence, and frankly, that whole notion of when does an artificial intelligence become self-aware? When do we call it conscious, etc.? It sounds high-minded. It's a very beautiful movie to look at. Bob and I saw it in a theater upstate one hot summer afternoon, and we both loved it, so I just thought I'd throw that in there. The other one is a Jake Gyllenhaal movie from 2011, and it's called Source Code. It's an interesting movie.
Did you see that in the theater?
Yes, we did. And by the end of it, I was very surprised by the ending. And the premise of the movie is that the military has developed a technique to send someone back 8 minutes into the past, into another person's body. And Jake Gyllenhaal is sent back to stop a commuter train from having a terrorist act, like a bomb going off. And the movie goes from there. But he's amazing because he doesn't know this is happening. He wakes up on a train. He's himself, but he sees a reflection of someone different in the mirror. Anyway, it's really well done. Logically, from a science point of view, it has holes like a colander, but movies are just about fun. So
You have no problem with make believe. I tell that all the time.
well, anyway, it looks great on Blu-ray, and it's under 15. So this is then you picked one, which
I picked one which anyone who knows me knows that this is just the perfect movie and knows that it's something that I would like. American Graffiti.
This is what surprised me.
Director George Lucas.
Yeah, Star Wars.
Before he started and going with all the nonsense in sci-fi.
This movie made him famous. This is a movie that made him famous.
So it's a night in 1962, and it's a group of young college graduates and men. The cast is unbelievable when you think about it. At the time, there were a bunch of unknowns, but it was Richard Dreyfuss, Cindy Williams, Harrison Ford, Mackenzie Phillips, Ron Howard, Suzanne Summers.
Yeah, great cast.
And this was the first movie my mom and her friend Judy had taken us to a matinee because my mom wanted to see this. And I thought it was so exciting because I think it was rated R.
It was, or even PG, because back then.
And we were only, I was like 11 or 12, and I thought this was big doings. You know, my mother told me to be quiet. But it was a fun movie. I've still watched it. The budget for the movie, do you want to take a guess?
$6 million?
No, $777,000.
It made a fortune, though.
It's one of the highest grossing films ever based upon what it cost to make and what they brought in. Over $200 million. In 1995, the United States Library of Congress deemed the film culturally and historically significant and selected it for preservation in the National Film Registry. I picked a couple of things because it was George Lucas, and so I want to see how well you know Star Wars. Mm-hmm. Because there's actually Star Wars things that came out of this movie. Do you know
Well,
one?
Harrison Ford would be one of them as Han Solo.
Well, Harrison Ford was asked to cut his hair for the film. He refused. He said my role was too small, so he wore a hat instead. Due to the low budget of the film, they were unable to pay all the crew members. So George Lucas said, what if we just run your name in the credits? And they said, fine. And that's how that has started. This was the first time there were so many people listed.
Cameramen, gaffers.
That we can't pay you, but we'll give you credit.
Seriously?
Right, that was another piece of trivia. There are over 40 songs on the soundtrack, so many film houses didn't want to touch it until Francis Ford Coppola, who had success with The Godfather, said, I'll do it, because the rights to 40 songs was outrageous. Okay. Although Francis Ford Coppola wanted the movie to be titled Another Slow Night in Modesto or Rock Around the Block.
Both
Lucas
are
said no.
But the Rock Around the Block's funny because they drove the cruisers around the. Yeah.
So this is my Star Wars reference. Mm-hmm. Do you know where the name R2D2 came
R2D2.
R2.
John is laughing his ass off.
What did I say?
RD2 for you.
Friggin' R2. Do you know where the name R2D2 came from?
I should know.
You should know this, and I think this is a piece of
This is
Star Wars trivia.
No, so where'd it come from?
George Lucas and a coworker were editing American Graffiti.
Oh.
The coworker asked George Lucas for Reel 2 Dialogue 2 and abbreviated it R2D2, a name which showed up and surfaced later in Lucas's later film Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope.
Oh my God, that's great. I should have known that. Yeah. I should have known.
Did I have Star Wars trivia that you didn't have?
You in
How about that?
Did that
discount?
That's the shark. You get the shark for that.
What's the new release this week?
New release. I am not sure I'm a fan of this show.
You haven't watched it, have you?
I tried watching season 1, and it kind of bothers me because of how close to reality.
Well, that's the problem with a lot of these things,
so,
like Homeland.
Deep Discount has House of Cards season 5, which just came out, and I think it's 13 episodes. Tim turned me on to Homeland and House of Cards initially, but it's Kevin Spacey's portrayal. I mean, first they shoot this all in a studio down in like North Carolina or Virginia, so they recreate the White House and all these sets down there. Pretty amazing. It's the show that is it still going up? Is it going into a 6th season now?
It may be. I'm the same way with you. I tried watching it and I just haven't, but I really should. Everybody says I would love it, and I'm sure knowing the kind of things I like, that I probably would.
No, and I think that you
would probably
would,
too, yeah.
but I just someone said that a friend of mine mentioned that this particular season was so close to the recent election and what's going on that they said it was actually creepy when it's fact meeting fiction, or fiction meeting fact. So yeah, that's available at deep discount, and you get there by going to our site, focusgroupradio.com. Click on look for the shark. Arr. And I would say I have a surprise coming up from Matt. This is for later, but Matt turned me on to one of the worst movies in the world, and it's a made-to-order disc you can get from deep discount. I ordered it, and I'm dying to see. He said, "Don't read about it, just watch it." And I was like, "Okay, you're telling me to watch the worst movie ever
Wow, that's tough to do."
So
Maverick was the worst movie.
So that's deep discount, and what do we have from Garrett?
Thanks, deep discounts.
Hey, there's some new. Oh, I like that. You put that security cam in.
What was that?
That was like another camera from
whole
out here.
camera, wow.
Hey, we're going to take a super quick break, and when we return, me and Tim are going to start the random sample headlines, LGBT headlines from around the country and the globe. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Brought to you by Volkswagen. Visit VW.com to learn more. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Try, really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
You do that one too. Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. It's Tim Bennett here with my good friend and co-host John Nash. We're all business except when we're not. Be sure to follow along, subscribe, like, rate us throughout the week. John's got something in his hands. What do you do? What do you have?
A little taste test, guys. You're going to be.
Where'd you get these
later.
from?
Okay, this is. I'm bombing random sample briefly.
Well, wait a second. So. Go to focusgroupradio.com to learn more.
All right, so
I have to get you yell at me if I don't get the format.
You know my friend Adrian. Adrian's a huge
Where do you
fan
find
of the
those?
show. He got these in Walmart. I think they're Walmart or Target.
I was looking for the jelly donut ones. I can't find. If somebody
There's
can
a
tell us
jelly
what those
donut.
are.
So
Yeah.
this is our taste test. We're gonna
So what is it?
This is the Cookie Butter Oreo.
Oh wow! Have
Now-
you had it yet?
Nope. Fresh
I
pack.
would like some milk. You have milk?
No, these you have to eat these plain. Look at how they do.
We
this
need to
game
go to
where
the.
They don't fill
I
the
know.
whole
We need to
tray.
go to the vault. You know, there was that vault. Did you see? Someone sent us. Mary Treisbach, who listens to the show. You know, she used to be the head of marketing at Subaru. She said that there was something we should have done, but I was too late on it. They were coming up with people to invent new flavors for them, and we could have submitted them. You think it's good?
It's a cookie butter cookie. This gets a 10. This is a cookie butter Oreo, and I think they were wise to make the cookie the vanilla cookie, not a chocolate one.
Be good with coffee. It's very good. So Adrian gets an
Thank
A+.
you. Adrian gets the gold star. Hey, by the way,
Adrian should have come in and sampled with us.
He wanted to. He's flying out west soon. He's taking his daughter on a road trip to the Grand Canyon. They were going to do Devil's Tower and Mount Rushmore, but it added 2 days to the trip. So they were going to try to duplicate what we did.
Oh, John, you missed the one. I thought something tasted different.
What does it say?
It's a graham flavored cookie. It's not even the vanilla. So it's a graham cracker.
Oh, so it's not the
So it's a graham cracker with the cookie dough.
graham flavored cookie with cookie butter flavor creme.
You just couldn't get your hands. You were like a raccoon at the can with that, ripping it open.
And ripping that package open. All right,
All right,
thank you,
goodness.
Adrian,
Thank
for
you,
our cookie butter Oreo cookies. Random sample time.
Now we're going to do random sample. So my first story, I saw this headline. This came from the Washington Blade. This happened last week. I don't know if you know, John. I think you remember. You remember the log cabin Republicans?
They're still around. Yeah, I do. How could we forget them? They're gonna. Their whole philosophy is you can't beat them unless you join them.
Well, they were founded in 1977 in California to thwart the Briggs Initiative, which was a measure opposed by soon-to-be President Ronald Reagan that would have banned gay teachers from schools. So they celebrated their 40th anniversary in 2017 at no other place than the Trump International Hotel.
Why wouldn't
D.C.
you? Why wouldn't you, right? I mean,
So they held the dinner at the Trump.
it's a beautiful property.
Is it?
Beautiful property.
They held the dinner there. Carly
Fiorina
was the head speaker, and they said it was remarkable that not one speaker mentioned President Trump. The whole event, the whole dinner and everything, and Trump's name never came up once. They said she told an awkward story about a gay coworker who wanted to work in sales, but they put him in service because they didn't know what to do with him. So that was her
story.
whole thing about being yourself and persevering.
And then she told a hilarious story about how she drove Hewlett Packard into the ground and lost all that stock value as her tenure on the board. Okay, well, maybe she didn't tell that one.
They asked one of the attendees. They said they gave a very nuanced assessment of the president and whether his approach to LGBT issues should be celebrated at the event. So a New Hampshire state senator, Dan Innes, said that we shouldn't really be crying over Trump's record on LGBT rights at the dinner, even if there was no cause for celebration. I think he's done some positive things for our community. But again, the more he gets to know us, I think the more he'll see that we can be important to him and to the Republican Party. So a lot of these folks, I don't know what planet they're from, but they towed the company line.
From Uranus.
So
it's a very dense planet. The atmosphere could kill you, and so can the name. But anyway.
So Gregory Angelo, I'm having trouble with names today. Gregory Angelo, president of the Log Cabin Republicans, said the celebration was focused on the 40th anniversary of the organization. When one of the reporters asked him why no mention of Trump, he said, "We don't shy away from talking about him, but we are having the event at his hotel."
Okay.
But then he was asked again if Trump's approach should be celebrated at the dinner. He said, "We've gone on record and we've praised and criticized the president, but at the end of the day, we're not here to poke at the party. We just want to be supportive."
All right.
Did you go?
No. And I would have been like the Jimmy Olsen in the crowd who would have poked Carly to answer why the stock lost so much money when she was heading Hewlett Packard, and that would have been wah, wah, wah.
Wow, she can't do that.
All right, so my first entry comes from Gay Star News. It's a British story, and I love this because the headline says, "Gay dads will no longer appear in McCain chips ad after homophobic abuse." Now, chips in London is French fries. So you have fish and chips, which is fish and fries. So this is This is a 60-second commercial for McCain's Chips. It's all about family, and you'll see the two gay dads portrayed about halfway through. John's going to play that for us.
When it comes to family, what's normal? Normal isn't normal. There's mummy, mum, ma, mama, stay-at-home mums, working mums, single mums, adoptive mums. I'm doing this on my own mums. Nans, grans who put you to bed and tell you not to believe in ghosts. Or maybe it's dad who tucks you up. Dad, daddy, two daddies. Long distance daddies. Weekend dads who pick you up and let you stay up late but make you promise to never ever tell your mum. Maybe you never met your dad. Perhaps it's granddad who takes you out for that kickabout. Or your brother, your half-brother, your brother from another mother. Maybe your friends are your family, the family you got to choose, like your sister from another mister who pops around for tea. Families come in all shapes and sizes, but it's meal times that make a family. McCain, we are family.
Okay, so the 2 to 3 seconds that the gay dads run with their baby, and one kisses the other on the cheek, yielded a tsunami of negative social media in England. The gay couple, Lee and Matt Samuels Camozzi, said they'd been called perverts, sick, and pedophiles. So McCain cut the ad down to a 30-second spot, which is reminiscent of what we know that happens at Super Bowl time. There's the 60 and then the 30, and in the 30, they're not in there. And a McCain Chips spokesman said, "There's only so much you can say in a 30-second spot, and we're still running this on social media. It's still there, but it's not the same as running it on TV, is it? I mean, there's a kind of
No, and it was a horrible ad.
You didn't like the ad?
No, I thought it was sad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the typical Brits. All they needed was rain. It was a sad ad. I didn't get family in fun. I got lots of angst from that. I was uncomfortable watching that ad.
No, I got wow. I thought they really nailed it. There's all kind of families, but it's in the eye of the beholder. What a classic, right? So they said one of the most hurtful comments they heard compared them to perverts, saying whatever's next, society's accepting pedophiles. They were shocked that these kinds of attitudes exist in the 21st century. I'm not sure what headlines or papers they're reading, but this, I wouldn't be so shocked. And so, as I said, they're continuing to run that on social media, but the primary ad's been cut to a 30, and it's a little more succinct. And so that was my first one.
Yeah. Well, you and I can go on about that forever.
Yes.
My number 2 came from the Dallas Voice. The headline was Mississippi law allowing discrimination okayed in the Fifth Circuit. So Mississippi State House Bill 1523, a religious objections bill that allows government officials and service providers from doctors to store clerks to refuse to serve LGBT people, has been cleared and will go into effect Friday, October 6th, so this Friday, after the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals refused a request for a full court review to rehear the 3-judge panel's decision of upholding the lower court ruling. They're saying they have no standing. As a result, the law prohibits the state from taking action against religious organizations that decline employment, housing, or services to same-sex couples, families of adopted children, individuals who offer wedding services, and want to decline facilities for same-sex weddings. The bill will also allow individuals working in medical services to decline transgender people reassignment surgery. The bill will also allow state government employees who facilitate marriages the options to opt out of issuing same-sex marriage licenses, and on and on.
So
Robert Duff, an attorney in Jackson, Mississippi, has said he is intend to seek a review on this decision with the Supreme Court. Thank you, Mississippi.
I only have one thing to say about that. That sounds eerily like a corporation or a private entity seeking special treatment, which would mean that they would fall under the classification of a taxable. Mm-hmm. Correct? I don't believe this doesn't sound like separation of church and state to me at all.
Well, the Mississippi governor, Phil Bryant, has signed.
A true friend of ours, I'm sure.
He signed the bill, and it is sweeping discrimination against LGBT people, probably the worst in the country, and it will go in effect on October 6th, this Friday. I know people live in Mississippi that listen to the show and so forth and so on. You and I have said it before, we live in two different countries. And
you tell me that bill would ever have been drafted or even passed in Connecticut.
No.
Ohio.
Probably not.
Oregon.
It's Mississippi, Alabama, and Arkansas, number 48, 49, and 50th and everything.
And now they're number one, though, in this area. So it's good to be one for something. Uh-huh. Okay, on a lighter note, my next one comes from a publication called The Pride LA, and the headline reads, in 1950s Hollywood, he was the guy to call for gay sex.
Ooh.
Gentleman named Scotty Bowers. Currently, he's 94.
Is he still taking calls?
That's him on the left. Did for gay stars in the 50s system. What he did for them in the 60s was assist them in finding partners, etc.
Stop. Is that him on the left?
That's him on the left.
Right now at 94?
94. I'm sorry, actually, the picture on the left was from a Times article. He was 88 at the time.
But still, for 88, he looks darn good for 88.
And that is him on the right, and after he left the Marine Corps.
Wow.
So Bowers is an ex-Marine who scored a job first as a hustler and then as a procurer to huge Hollywood stars, largely out of luck. First moved to Hollywood after the war, scoring a job at a gas station on Hollywood Boulevard. He quickly turned the job into a much more lucrative gig after the Mrs. Miniver and How Green Was My Valley actor Walter Pidgeon propositioned him. His reputation grew from there, and he soon realized going to need a bigger brothel. So he actually was a madame to the stars, I suppose you could say.
That's still not married, Rock. Fans demand answers.
Throughout his career, Bowers helped such stars as Cary Grant and his partner, the actor Randolph Scott, Katharine Hepburn, Rock Hudson, and the Duke and Duchess of Windsor achieve coital bliss with discreet same-sex partners. And he did it all under the radar.
Duke and Duchess?
I have heard rumor of this, and I'm surprised we haven't heard more about it, but supposedly, yeah. So there's a new documentary that's being issued. It's called The Scotty and the Secret History of Hollywood. It premiered at the Toronto Film Festival.
So we're going to get to see it.
Oh yeah, and it's about and now at this age he feels he can finally talk about, since many of the people he worked with have long passed.
Oh, I can't wait.
It's not going to hurt their careers, maybe their legacies a little bit, but
was Cary Grant a homosexual?
Rumor has it that he was.
Suzanne would say sugar bakers, homosexual?
Homosexual, and he set up shop with Randolph Scott. I think that was the actor. And so, yeah, this is a documentary coming to a screen soon near you. There was a book that he wrote, and
So he was a male escort.
Originally, and then he realized that he was dealing with so many actors that there was something here, and he would actually make it happen. Because in Hollywood back in the day, you would any scent of that, you were off the.
I bet it's still going on, don't you think?
Oh, of course it is.
I would love to talk to somebody like that.
Of course it is.
Don't you want to know what's going on?
Yeah.
My number 3, do you know Patrick Cowley?
No.
You know him? So he was he died November 12th, 1982 at 32. He's an American disco and high-energy dance music composer and recording artist.
We're hearing his music now, right?
Right, so what he's famous for is he used to work with Sylvester. Remember Sylvester?
Yes, I do.
So in the late 70s, Sylvester asked him to join his studio band, and hearing some of his early synthesizer work, he played synthesizer on Sylvester's 1978 album, You Make Me Feel Mighty Real, Disco Heat. Did Do You Wanna Funk? Remember that? Great songs.
Yeah.
Did a remix of Donna Summer's I Feel Love, which is now a collector's item, a 15-inch. The Pet Shop Boys and New Order cite him, Cowley, as a major influence on their style. So he was asked in the 70s to put together some adult film scores for the porn industry for a studio called Fox Studios. So they're releasing the final music? So he wrote a lot of the soundtracks for the 70s and 80s
porn movies.
Porn. So this one's called Hot Beach.
I can almost see the video that accompanies this.
I want to get you. So that's a poster. They're actually having a party at a bar called Counter Pulse in San Francisco on November 9th. So
they're releasing this album.
Next month. They're releasing the album on his birth date, which would be November 12th. He'd been 67. I'm sorry, October 19th, he would be 67. And on his 67th birthday. So there's a compilation, and they're still using some of his music. So this is the third of a series. It's called Afternooners. It was recorded May 1982, before he died of AIDS. And they said that during his world tour with Sylvester in '81, he complained he wasn't feeling well. He returned to the U.S. He visited with a doctor who was diagnosed with food poisoning. Weeks later, the condition kept worsening. The doctors failed to identify what was wrong with him, sent him home, but the reality was he was in the early stage of HIV/AIDS. He was misdiagnosed, which they said was quite common back then. He was discharged from the hospital in '82. The doctor said they could do nothing for him. He died at his home November 12, 1982. At 32 years old, he was one of the earlier well-known victims of AIDS.
Wow.
But I thought that the music was. So I want to get you the disc. Maybe deep discount offer.
I want it because I think that's hysterical. That's a great random sample. My last one is a very brief one. It comes to us from Australia, where they are currently holding a referendum on LGBT marriage. It's a mail-in thing, and the headline is, "This dog almost got kicked for wearing a marriage equality bandana." So a columnist named Claire Sutherland has a dog named Mac, and there he is. She's straight, but she was walking the dog in a park, and the park she was in did not require the dog to be on a leash. She's a very well-trained dog, very friendly. Dog was running around, and he approached a man who was sitting alone on a bench. According to Sutherland, Mac didn't rush him or jump him, but the man stood up and did a fresh air kick, like as if he was going to kick the dog. He then went on. He then went to the walker and shouted anti-gay slurs at her, including. He went to the woman, perverted fucking poofed her, and made comments about the non-binding referendum currently underway in Australia on gay marriage equality. And she said, "I'm straight, but I never really understood the impact of being gay because not only can you have physical things done to you." She goes, her poor dog was the surrogate for for like the slurs and the nasty stuff. But she said she would never expect people to take homophobia out on dogs, and it's changed her perspective on what it means to be gay.
I don't understand the energy, people.
Why are they bothering? What is the big deal? The dog's wearing a little bandana with a rainbow on it. It's like I don't. I'll go to my grave probably not understanding this. It just doesn't make sense. There's so many things to worry about in life. Let alone putting food on the table and a roof over your head. Why would you care? That's so far down the list of. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a super quick break, and we're going to have a really quick shop talk when we come back. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Brought to you by Volkswagen. Visit VW.com to learn more. Now back to the focus group with Tim and John.
Because he has a lot of chutzpah.
An entertaining look at the world of business.
Heads are spinning, heads are spinning.
Listen, laugh, and learn.
I am not gay. I never have been gay.
That's my voice.
Hey, welcome back to the focus group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, John
Who's
Nash.
the thief today?
The time is the thief, as usual. But so we have a shop talk we wanted to squeeze in, and so in the interest of time, though, we're only going to pick one of the topics. And John had found this out of the New York Times.
Yeah, the column is called "The Workologist."
Workologist. Okay, so it's like a Dear Abby. You write in with.
But it's for workplace things, and I follow the column. But the one that fascinated me was a man wrote. A guy said, "I'm the supervisor of a recent college graduate who generally is very professional and a good worker. However, he has very stooped shoulders that make him look meek and uncertain and prevent him from making a confident impression. He is aware that he has bad posture. He mentioned to me offhandedly once, but I'm not sure if he knows how much it affects his presentation. I'm considering bringing it up with him, but I'm worried that it might be some physical thing he can't correct, and all I have done is make him more self-conscious. Body issues are incredibly sensitive. I would never, for example, suggest that obese employees lose weight, blah, blah, blah. On the other hand, if it was me and it's a correctable problem, I'd want to know." And so he asked the workologist, "What would you do?" The workologist answered that it's a very sensitive thing, and the only way to approach it would be to say, "You mentioned something the other day about your posture. Does it worry you or bother you?" And that's the only way in that he thought to talk about it. I think that's a tough one. Clearly, he likes the guy. He has good energy. He's a contributor to the team, but he feels that there's a physical presence that's not being made correctly because of this posture issue.
Depending on how big the company is, I've run into these issues before with people in a number of issues, whether it's the way they dress, the way their hygiene was.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
Speech and so forth. And what you do is you send them to a third party.
Wait. What you do is you send them to a third party.
You work with the human resources department, and they do all kinds of either internal classes or they bring in outside classes for media training, for instance. And you put the people through. So for this guy, if say, "Hey, listen, Joe, you're going to be giving a lot of presentations here. It's important that we give the best presentations we can to sell our ideas. We've got a person coming in from X, Y, and Z, or human resources is putting together a training class where we're going to talk about kind of presentation skills. I want you to come." At that point, they can say, "So you want to be confident, you want to sit tall, da-da-da-da-da," and give the whole spiel. When I worked at the steel company at LTV Steel out of college, they put us for 2 weeks. We went through etiquette training, how to eat, how to order at restaurants, how to drink, how to stand when a woman walks in the room, pull the chair out.
The face of the company, your salesperson.
It's the proper briefcase. So that's what I would have tried to figure out.
So I think you're right there. And the workologist, what he was getting at was, what if this individual suffers from scoliosis or form?
It's a whole different issue, yeah.
It is, but then when you bring it up to someone, it's a non-correctable problem. It's kind of...
Well, then it's be like they're discriminating against me, right?
So years ago, when I first started working at the gym, I had a trainer named Tommy who I adored, super cool guy. And one day I was listing my goals And he said, I think you should add one other goal into your list. And I said, what's that? He goes, it never hurts to work to improve your posture. And so it was back exercises and stuff. And, years later, I asked him about that, and he said he's very careful about that, but if he notices a correctable problem, he'll actually mention it. And now, here we are years and years later, one of the things friends of mine will always mention is my posture. It's good posture. So I don't know.
Did you have bad posture before?
I just did
Disney tickets to any...
Get tickets to any show. I can get tickets to any show I want. Did I have bad posture? No, but at 6'1", I did that typical thing where your computer all day or whatever, you roll so you're kind of collapsing a bit, and I do think it. From a presentation point of view, it does make a difference. You feel better about yourself. Clothing fits a certain way. But that's a tough one. So that came to us from the Workologist in the New York Times.
Posture was always important in rowing. The coach used to always yell, chesty.
Chest out.
The biggest rooster in the hen house.
And that's... Yeah.
Chesty!
You tell me another one that he had about the back versus I'll remember it in a second, but it was a good piece of advice for when you're working out at the gym. All right, so thanks everybody for joining us. John and Garrett, thanks for all your help in the booth today. We love the booth. They're cagey.
What did you say? The boys in the booth.
Boys in the booth are cagey.
Boys in the cage are cagey.
There's stuff going on. Yeah, see, it's like. Thank you to Deep Discount, our partner here on the Focus Group. $15 and under is the Blu-ray sale they're running this month. Go to Deep Discount by focusgroupradio.com. I want to thank Adrian for our little taste test today, and the guys in the booth are now going to get their taste test. And a big thank you to Volkswagen Group of America. Tim, sales.
Sales were up 33% last month. Thank you to the Atlas and Tiguan.
The two Atlas is a big 7-seater. And the Tiguan is a newly redesigned version of one of their most popular cars, the Tiguan. Check both out at VW.com. They have plenty of other product there as well. We're driving the all-track wagon, which I still love. All right, folks, we're going to be at Derek and Romaine later today doing a live show from 5 to 7.
And next week,
we are coming to you from the Out and Equal Conference in Philadelphia. It's the employee resource group for the LGBT community. We'll be live. We'll be guests of Volkswagen. We'll be doing the show from their booth.
But the show won't air until
probably
Saturday.
Thursday or Friday, right? I mean, it'll be available. We'll announce it for Saturday. It might be available sooner. Right. Well, no, you're giving me time to edit. Okay, thank you. Saturday. Have a great one. Don't text and drive. Arrive alive. Garrett. Oh, Garrett's thumbs up. Thank God from the cagey guys in the booth that want the cookies. All right, thanks.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Formerly on SiriusXM Satellite Radio and now accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.